No one expected the marriage to end because of the one man Daniel trusted most. Daniel Carter and Michael Ross had been best friends since childhood. They built businesses together, shared holidays, and joked that nothing could ever break their bond. Daniel's wife, Laura, had always been part of that circle. She laughed at Michael's jokes, joined their weekend barbecues, and helped plan their 10th wedding anniversary. From the outside, their life looked perfect. Until the night Daniel came home early. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then he heard voices upstairs. Laura's voice, soft, nervous, and Michael's. Daniel climbed the stairs slowly, his chest tightening with every step. When he pushed open the bedroom door, time seemed to stop. Laura stood frozen. Michael couldn't even look at him. In that moment, Daniel realized the two people he trusted most had been hiding something for a long time. But what Laura said next destroyed him even more. "I'm leaving, and I'm leaving with him." To be continued in the next episode.
When Laura said she was leaving with Michael, Daniel thought it was a cruel joke, but she didn't take it back. "I didn't plan this," she said quietly, avoiding his eyes, "but I can't lie anymore." Michael stood there in silence, like a man who knew he had crossed a line that could never be erased. Daniel laughed, the kind of laugh that comes when someone refuses to believe what they are hearing. "You're my best friend," he said to Michael, "my brother." Michael finally spoke. "I never meant for it to happen, but it already had." Within weeks, Laura moved out of the house she had shared with Daniel for 11 years, and shockingly, she moved straight into Michael's apartment. Friends took sides. Some cut Michael off completely, others blamed Laura. Daniel disappeared from the social circle entirely. He sold the house, closed their joint accounts, and vanished from the life they had built together. But the real story did not end there, because 5 years later, Laura would knock on Daniel's door again, and she would not be alone.
"5 years after Laura walked away, Daniel Carter had rebuilt his life from the ground up. He moved to a different city, started a new construction company, and kept his circle small. Very small. No one mentioned Laura. No one mentioned Michael. Those names belonged to another life. Then, one rainy evening, there was a knock on his door. Daniel almost ignored it, but something made him open it. And when he did, the past came rushing back. Laura stood on the porch. She looked older, tired, nothing like the confident woman who once walked out of his life. Beside her stood a small boy, maybe 4 years old, holding her hand tightly. Daniel stared at the child. The boy looked up at him with wide eyes. Laura's voice trembled. "Daniel, we need to talk." Daniel's heart began pounding because the boy's face looked strangely familiar, and Laura was about to tell him something that would reopen every wound he had buried. To be continued in the next episode. Like, follow, and share. Daniel's first instinct was to shut the door. 5 years of silence had hardened him, but something about the little boy stopped him. The child looked nervous, gripping Laura's hand like he was afraid of strangers. Daniel stepped aside slowly. "Come in," he said. They sat in the living room, the rain tapping against the windows. Laura looked around quietly. It was clear Daniel had built a new life, a calm one. "Where's Michael?" Daniel finally asked. The question hung in the air. Laura swallowed. "He's gone." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean, gone?" Her eyes filled with tears. 2 years ago, Michael was in a car accident. He didn't survive. The room went silent. Daniel leaned back, stunned. No matter what Michael had done, he had once been like family. Then Laura placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "There's something else you need to know." Daniel looked at the child again, and this time, the resemblance was impossible to ignore. To be continued in the next episode. Like, follow, and share. Laura took a deep breath before saying the words she had carried for years. "This is Ethan." The boy looked up shyly. Daniel nodded slowly, still confused. "And?" he asked. Laura's voice cracked. "He's yours." The words landed like thunder. Daniel stood up so quickly his chair scraped the floor. "That's impossible," he said. But Laura shook her head. "When I left you, I had just found out I was pregnant." Daniel felt the room spin. "You told Michael the baby was his?" She nodded slowly. "Yes." "Why?" Laura wiped her tears. "Because by then I had already destroyed everything. I thought telling the truth would make it worse." Daniel stared at the boy again. The same eyes. The same quiet expression he remembered from childhood photos of himself. 5 years of silence. 5 years of lies. And now the truth had arrived at his doorstep. But what Daniel said next changed everything. To be continued in the next episode. Like, follow, and share.